Supervision is a critical component for managing risks in the mining environment. The regulator has identified poor supervision as a common contributing factor in serious incidents across mine sites. Because of this, we have developed clear expectations of what effective supervision looks like in practice. These expectations apply to all supervisors, including statutory and non-statutory roles, permanent employees, contractors, and those who are stepping up into supervisory positions. At its core, supervision is about actively eliminating health and safety risks, both physically and psychosocial. That means enforcing compliance with legislation and ensuring work is carried out in accordance with the mine's safety management system. Our expectations are grounded in legislation and good practice. The Work Health and Safety Act 2011 establishes an overarching duty of care, while the Work Health and Safety Mines and Petroleum Act 2013, an associated regulation, sets out more specific requirements for mining operations. Under Section 19.3 of the Work Health and Safety Act, a person conducting a business or undertaking must ensure, so far as reasonably practical, that work is conducted in a safe way. Supervisors play a critical role in making that duty real on the ground. A supervisor must do everything within their authority and capacity to ensure work is carried out safely, intervening when standards are not met, addressing unsafe behaviours, and stopping work where necessary. Supervision is not a passive role. It is an active role and one that inspectors will continue to assess closely.
Jason Thomas, Inspector with the New South Wales Resources Regulator. Providing workers with the right training, supervision, instruction and support is fundamental to preventing workplace incidents. As a supervisor and duty holder, you play a critical role in ensuring work is carried out safely and in compliance with the legislation and the mine safety management system. As a supervisor, you are responsible to ensure your team members are suitably trained, authorised and competent to operate vehicles and equipment required to complete the job. Workers must be qualified with the required licences and competencies. Remember, being qualified does not always mean being competent. Confirmed workers can perform tasks safely and confidently.
I'm Justin Murray, an Inspector at Resources Regulator. Challenge workers on their familiarity with the job by asking, how often do they undertake the job? When was the last time they completed the job? What could go wrong? What controls are in place to prevent an incident occurring? Use your people skills to have effective interactions with workers. Ask questions to uncover hidden concerns, watch for body language and tone. Create a space where people feel safe to speak up. Respond with care and address workers' concerns. Clarify roles to reduce stress and confusion. Keep the conversation going. Regular feedback builds trust and keeps everyone safer.
Peter Burkholtz, Mechanical Engineering Inspector for the Resources Regulator. Supervisors need to make sure tools and equipment are inspected and are fit for purpose, and workers are using the correct tools and equipment for the job. Verified pre-start checks are completed thoroughly. Don't just do a tick and flick. If defects are found, report them, follow up and confirm usability before work begins. Supervisors and workers must identify all foreseeable hazards, assess them and apply appropriate control measures. Through inspections, observations and conversations, confirm controls are in place. If you're not confident, stop the task. Supervisors are required to enforce the standards, procedures, JSAs, JHAs and permits. Apply the hierarchy of controls, eliminate risks where possible or reduce it as far as reasonably practicable. Good practice is to build in stop points for higher risk steps in your JHAs and JSAs. This is where workers stop and have their supervisor check the controls for the next step in the process are in place and are appropriate. Encouraging workers to pause and confirm with a supervisor fosters collaboration and reinforces a culture of safety. It is your job to proactively act, challenge test workers on the job, identify and assess hazards and ensure controls are in place to manage the risk to workers' health and safety? Can you comfortably make the statement, I consider the work can be done safely without risk to health and safety of workers? Supervisors should challenge test the Take 5s, JSAs and JHAs, then act and correct. If you are faced with a situation you are not competent to manage safely, then communicate and consult with the appropriate competent person, or escalate to a more senior manager, engineer or expert. Supervisors must stop work if safety cannot be verified.
Encourage workers to critically evaluate hazards and controls for themselves. Influence workers in the use of hazard reporting. Your job is to recognise an incident if it happens and implement appropriate action. Report all incidents, understand implications of scene preservation and report up. Implement the mine's incident management protocol. This includes making sure everyone is safe, preservation of the scene, demarcation, witness statement collection, photos, notification and elevation to senior officials.
I'm Steve Robinson, Principal Inspector, Health, Risk and Compliance. Supervisors should be aware of human factors that influence the risk to health and safety. There are 12 factors to consider. Lack of communication. Misunderstanding or missing information can lead to unsafe actions. Clear, timely communication is essential. Complacency. Overconfidence or routine familiarity can cause workers to overlook hazards. Stay alert and challenge assumptions. Lack of knowledge. Insufficient training or understanding of tasks increases risks. Verify competency. Ensure the required level of training that workers understand the task and provide guidance where required. Distraction. Interruptions, multitasking, or divided attention can result in mistakes. Encourage focus, attention, and use of appropriate control measures to manage distractions. Lack of teamwork. Poor collaboration reduces safety. Involves teams in decision-making and shared responsibility. Fatigue. Physical or mental exhaustion impairs judgment. Monitor signs of fatigue. Ensure workers have adequate breaks, tools and equipment. Appropriate hydration, rest areas and support. Pressure. Time or production pressures can lead to shortcuts. You're the supervisor and you are empowered. It's your responsibility to make sure the job is done safely. There is no excuse for shortcuts. Procedures exist for a reason. Stop the job if safety cannot be verified. Lack of resources. Poor planning, inadequate procedures, missing or poorly maintained tools and equipment, or lack of personnel create unsafe conditions. Escalate resource gaps, report feedback to management promptly and address safety. Lack of assertiveness. Workers may hesitate to speak up, but safety depends on open communication. Focus on developing understanding, not blame. Encourage reporting to make it safe for workers to raise concerns. Stress. Work stresses or personal issues can impact performance and safety. Under the Workplace Health and Safety Regulations, all hazards, including psychosocial hazards, must be managed. Manage workloads proactively. Balance tasks, clarify priorities, rotate roles, and check in regularly to reduce stress and prevent risks to health and safety. Lack of awareness. Failure to notice hazards or changing conditions can lead to serious incidents. As a supervisor, promote situational awareness, look, listen and act. Encourage your team to scan for hazards continuously. As a supervisor, this is where you add significant value. Seeing, noticing and acting immediately will keep your team safe. Norms. This is how we've always done it. Attitudes can normalise unsafe practices. Challenge unsafe norms and lead by example. Encourage fresh perspectives. New crew members often see risk others miss. Take time to consider safer approaches.
Emma Ainscoe, Manager Health with the Resources Regulator. Understand psychosocial hazards as outlined in WHS Regulations 2025, Section 55A to D, and associated risks. Supervisors must identify and respond to work-related factors such as behaviours, job demands, and workplace interactions that may adversely affect workers' psychological health in order to effectively manage psychosocial risks in line with WHS duties. Apply appropriate control measures to reduce psychosocial risks and support a mentally healthy, productive workplace. Strategies include: be aware of excessive work demands, consider job rotation, task design, and clarify roles and responsibilities. Consider the impacts of fatigue and adjust work schedules and tasks if necessary. Ensure appropriate number of resources are allocated to a task. Overload leads to burnout. Foster respectful, inclusive teams that support well-being. Understand and communicate organisational changes to reduce uncertainty. Enforce company policies to prevent bullying, harassment, and conflict. Monitor for changes in worker behaviour or mood that may signal emerging psychosocial hazards. Ensure access to support services such as an employee assistance program are available and encouraged. Encourage open conversations to help workers feel heard and supported. When supervisors recognise psychosocial hazards early and notice signs of distress, they can intervene before issues escalate. That keeps people safe and well, and work stays on track.
What are the key takeaways from today's presentation? Look, listen and act. Spot hazards before they harm. Identify hazards, both physical and psychological. Assess and control hazards. Interact with, challenge and support workers. Understand your responsibilities. If you do not know, find out. Be present in your work area. If not safe, stop. Manage or manage up or down.
The importance of supervision cannot be overstated. As a supervisor, you play a critical role in actively preventing incidents from occurring. Your role is to ensure compliance with your site's safety management system and relevant legislation. And ultimately, it is the supervisor who is responsible for maintaining a controlled work environment and minimising harm to workers.